Hey guys, Big J here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Do you find it hard sometimes knowing which players to upgrade, what their break-evens are, or how they're going in a team? Well, this video is here for you. Welcome to Part 1 Supercoach Resources. Enjoy! Hey guys, first off the ranks is the AFL website. And obviously the AFL runs the AFL, so their website's going to be a good resource. You've got things like the news, which you can see over here, and some interesting news just came out today talking about how Thursday teams are probably going to come back, which is going to help us a lot. It's got some information similar to who's in the mix, so you can have a look here and see who's in the mix for that week. So what it's got here, it's usually got some reports about how they did it in the reserves, who the medical substitute was, and then who could be in and out for that week. So it can be useful. It can be useful for our non-playing rookies to see how they're doing, because if they're not named, then they're in a bit of trouble. If we scroll down to where's St Kilda, everyone's favourite Highmore. Let's see how he went. So Highmore got 30 possessions, so hopefully he's in this week. What are we doing now? Another useful thing is the injury list. So let's have a look at that next. The injury list obviously tells us who's injured and how long they're out for. It can be pretty useful. Someone like, seeing like how long a Lachie Neale's going to be out can really influence how you go on players like Dev Robertson or Bailey or Lyons. Because if he's only coming back next week, maybe you'll hold back because he's likely to take a lot of their space. Another thing that the website has is team lineups. And I find this can be really useful. 6:20 before every game, obviously with the new news coming out, it might be Thursdays again. You can actually see who's in and out, and then who's the rookies named, or the debutants named. It also shows you the different lineups on here as well. So that can be pretty useful. If I decide to bring in Rioli, and he's not named on field, that gives me some not confidence, but some worry that, hey, he might not see as much of the ball as like a Jay Carts, because they're not confident enough to put him on field. Just as an example. Over here at the top, we can see each different team's website as well. So as I'm a North man, let's go over to North. The different websites got how the report of how they went in the VFL and some useful information as well. Sometimes they'll put in there, oh, this player is pushing for a selection, or things like the post-match conference as well. It can be really, really useful because you might say, oh, Carlton decided to try this player out, but next week we're putting back into his regular position, for an example. And you can usually pick up some training photos and things like that as well, so you can see how guys are going. Alright, now I'm going to go show everyone Stats Pro. And Stats Pro is a pretty useful tool. I know a lot of the big boys use it, and you can actually look at any player you want and see how they're going. So let's do that. So, as that loads, cool. So, who are we going to look at today? Let's look at Sam Walsh, who I just brought in last week. So all you do is go over here. I can just type Sam Walsh, and then Sam Walsh pops up. So let's look at him on Stats Pro. If we scroll down, we can see how many games, what his stats are. So 46 games, when did he debut, what is his height, all that kind of stuff. This is his ranking versus other players in the league. So he's elite in disposals, above average in kicks, elite handballer, marks, tackles, and goals. You can also see down the bottom here some highlights of how he went. Now if we just click on him versus Essendon, I know he had a big game. It's got his highlights here, which usually includes contested possessions, goals, some marks, and some disposals. Or we can check out his extended video, and it's got basically every time that he touched the ball, did a turnover, got tackled, and so on. So it can be pretty useful. Let's just pop up his highlights and have a look.
Beautiful sidestep, Sam Walsh, brilliant.
Let's have a quick look. So this is him kicking. Hopefully it's going to load. Please load. All right, let's try again.
So perhaps not receiving some kicks that he could, maybe due to things earlier in the game, I'm not sure. But
and there he is.
Certainly appears he's been
There's
a
a
little hard done with as Walsh is dragged to the ground.
Another thing that it shows is his stats throughout the games. So the last 5 games. His averages as well. So in this game he scored this many and so on and so on. So it's a pretty useful tool. You can look at his career average as well. But we just care about his season average because what he scored last year doesn't matter to this year. If we look down here, it's got his rating points as well. How long he spent on the ground. How many matches he's played this season. Frees for, frees against in a game. And scrolling down, some more information here as well. So I'll let all you Supercoach stats guys have a look at that. The more important thing, and especially for rookies, is looking at their heat map. And this shows us basically every week, but this is a continuation for the whole year, where he has been for most of the time. So as you can see, he spends 51, basically half time in defence and half time in the forward line. But being in the middle, it's basically cut down the middle here. So that's the way it works. We can see that he spends most of his time in the middle and then spurts along the wing and very, very rarely in the forward line. And for a midfield rookie or a midfield player, that's really important. If you're looking at a rookie upgrade, for example, you might say, hey, he spends a lot of time in defence but then moves forward, or this week he scored really poorly, what happened? And it might just be the player being moved around. So I hope that shows you guys some useful information. You can see how it goes. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Bye. Hey guys, not everyone can know everything about everything in the AFL. And that's why we have BigFooty. BigFooty, as it says at the top, is Australia's biggest footy forum. So let's quickly have a look at what it offers for us as a Supercoach player. If we go over here to AFL board, we can look at some different topics. So being a forum, it's basically a conversation between people. So they have a lot of different information here about different things that's going on in the AFL world. And when it comes to Supercoach, I find it really relevant sometimes. So let's quickly have a look. These are some general different topics that are happening at the moment. Some match reports on here as well. Now each team should have a match report, but if we go over here to clubs. Now, every single club in the AFL has a forum, and this is what we're going to look at. So, let's look at the North Melbourne forum as an example. But, actually, let's look at the North forum. So, what can we see on here? There's a trade list and management thread. There is generally a different thread about each player where you can see different news and different opinions that are happening. Sometimes people post on there, hey, this guy just got injured or got a new contract, or they've talked about a new position, that kind of thing. You can also see things like training assistants and training. How people who've come and watched your team train, how are they doing? So I find that really useful sometimes as well. If we go over back to forums and we scroll down, it's got some things like the different AFL stadiums, different podcasts and blogs as well. So we can have a quick look at that. Some information on there that might be worth having a look for you guys who like to look at your podcasts and everything. Talking about the umpires. And yeah, so generally I like to surf all of the different forums. Obviously I have an account on there as well, but it's got some information on there that may be something on the AFL website or a particular club website they won't have. Similar to the training reports. I know North has an almost an open training policy where you can come down and watch, and I think a few of the others do as well. But let's say I want to find some information on a Richmond player. I can come into this forum, post it up on here, and then see how they're going. So, yeah, some information on Collier Dawkins, how he went last week, for example. You know, he's a rookie that we're going to be thinking about bringing him in. So, surf on there, see what the club thinks about him, how's he going. It's also got here some information about the different reserve leagues that are happening. So if your player's stuck in the reserve league and you want to know, oh, is he going to break out as well? You can have a look. The VFL board here is probably the most important one at the moment, just because a lot of the teams have a VFL team. So, yeah, some information in there. Talking about the draft prospects as well. So, rookies that might get picked up in the mid-season draft. And of course, what would it be without a Supercoach forum? So, let's say you're not prevalent on something like Facebook or Discord. You can actually go on here and post your team. It's got some different threads talking about the forwards. Let's see what's happening in the forward thread today. Cool. So this person's on here posting on their different averages for the year. So that's something really important for you guys that may be looking for some different information or some help with your team. Hey guys, who do I put in my forward line? Now they've got similar things for the rookies, defenders and midfielders. And people post in here what their trades are as well. So let's have a quick look. Cool. So this is someone's team. As an example, hey, check out my team. What can I do? What can I do? So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, match day discussions as well. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, post in the comments. Thanks. Bye. Hey guys, have you ever thought, man, I wish I had the stats and the break-evens of Supercoach Gold, but I really don't want to spend money on it? Then FootyWise is your website for you. So let's quickly check out what it offers. If we head over here, just on the main scoreboard, it's got some different information here about each team and the scheduled matches for those teams, but also how teams went last week. So let's go and press stats. So this is the stats of each player in their position, and then what they scored in Supercoach. So, you can actually go and filter them. Bashahuli scored the most, so on and so on. So that's pretty interesting. Heading back to the main page, we can actually go and see who the round 7 leaders are in each position as well. So, Tim Kelly's had the most disposals, Tom Mitchell's had the next, and then so on and so on. And then Fritz scored the most as well. We can go down here and have a look at, hey, in Supercoach, Shane Mumford actually went up the most money this week, followed by Kazitsky, Danaher, and James Jordan, with Zeeble on the bottom. We can look at who's actually dropped the most in money, and there's a couple of popular picks in there in Ridley and Jordan De Goey. And who's got the best break-evens as well coming into the next week. It's obviously got AFL Fantasy there, but we don't care too much about that. So, have you ever wanted to see players' break-evens and how much they want to lose without spending money? Well, let's do that right now. So, on the left-hand side, you can search different things, but right now we're just going to care about Supercoach. And this is something that I've used all the time, and it's really saved me money. I've got gold at the moment, and they both do similar things, but I like having gold as well. I know there's some people that don't want to, so this is the video for you. Let's head over to Supercoach. So, in this tab, we can see round by round player rankings, so who was the best forward, defender, whatever, in each round. We can see the season player rankings. So, let's quickly check that out. Now, the thing with FootyWire is these are actually done by AFL fantasy positions. So if we go somewhere like up the top, we can search by which position, but also the average score. So average score, total score, the player's price if we want to see who the most expensive is, and then the value. Hey, how much money does this guy normally make, or the scores they normally score per minutes on field. So what I normally do is I'll go over to defender and say, who's got the best average as a defender right now? Alright, and because it's fantasy, Jack Zeeble's in there. Obviously in Supercoach we can only pick him as a forward, so let's just forget about that. But he has scored 876 so far, and he's got an average of 123. So that's pretty good. You can't complain about that. You've got Stewart, Mills, Ridley, and so on and so on. So when people talk about, hey, is this guy a top 6 defender or top 10 defender, you can jump on FootyWire, go over to Supercoach, player rankings, and then check out the defenders and see how he's going. Alright. Another thing, as you just saw, the next line down is the break-evens. And that's the really important thing. That's why FootyWise is normally used, apart from the player stats, but FootyWise is great for break-evens. So these get entered. Usually if it's a game on a Sunday, on a Monday they'll be updated. We can actually see on here who's got the highest break even for this round and how likely compared on their stats in previous years and how the season's going, how likely they are to match that. So Max Gawn at the moment, because he had a stinky 63, his average is normally 130, but he's got a break even at 223. So he's not likely to get that, and he's going to drop in price. You can also search by the player's average. So you can say, hey, who's got the highest average? And then check their break-evens as well. So I want to bring in McRae. He normally averages 126. Next week he needs to get a 150 to be able to keep his price. So he might be someone to look at. If I go back to break-even, I can search by the highest, but I can actually search by the lowest. And this is what we use to choose our rookies, basically, or guys that we want to make cash. So if we go over here, Frederick's played 2 games. As we know with Supercoach, when someone's on the bubble, which is 2 games just before their 3rd game, this will actually tell us how much money average if we search into his name. So let's go to Frederick, for example. So he's got an average of 81 from 2 games, and he's got a negative of 88 break even. And if he plays, he's likely to reach negative 88. So he'll go up in money a little bit. So let's quickly click on his name, and this is his profile. So I'll show you just later how to get profiles, but this is actually got, so if we go down to here, this is his analysis. We can see here, this is the 2 games he's played, what round and what his price was. And so he's negative 88 break even, 100% likely to get it. And his current price is a 123. Next week, if he plays, he's likely to jump up by 74k. So that's pretty good. And then so on and so on with his price rise. So it's actually a really good tool to work out which rookies are the best if you've got to choose between 1 or 2 different rookies. So let's say I had to choose between Frederick and Highmore this week. Well, Frederick costs a little bit more, but his break-even's a lot better. So he's going to make more money out of the 2. Similar to a Nathan Murray, a Murphy, a Collier Dawkins. He's only played 1 game, but when he plays his 2nd game, his break-even's going to be up here as well. Similar to a Sweet, and so on and so on. If you don't have Stats Pro, this page is really, really useful for you, and I'll post it down in the comments, as I will with every other video that's included in this compilation today. The break-evens are really going to be helpful for those people who want to know when they can start offloading their rookies, and if it's worth keeping a guy or not. If we go back to the search by the highest, we can actually search and have a look scrolling down and see, hey, Nathan Fife, he's got an average of 114, but his break-evens are 136. So if he doesn't make that, he's going to lose some cash. So that's good for upgrades as well. And then so on and so on. So spend some time looking through these players and associate it with your Supercoach team as well. If we go back to the May, I think that's it. Yeah, scores and then prices as well. So it's just showing us what the price range is, what they're expected to go up by or go up or go down by as well. So yeah, it's a really, really useful tool. It's a bit crazy for the stats wise if you're not so into stats, but this is why we're on it. So AFL Statistics, come on guys. If you go back to the main page, down the bottom here, you can actually search by player. So let's say, hey, I want to see how Josh Kelly's going. All right, go over here to, he's a current player, so you can look at past players as well, and then GWS. And we can actually go and let's find Josh Kelly. Oh, that's not Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly. Cool. So this gives us all the stats on Josh Kelly. And it's a little bit more than the page we had before. So we've got over here how many games, his weight, all that kind of stuff. What position he's selectable in this is fantasy. So it's not Supercoach. His Supercoach price as well, so what he is at the moment, and how he's going, basically, for the first 7 games. These are his season highlights, so against, well, let's have a quick look here. Against Adelaide, he had 27 disposals. And then his season highlights plus his career highlights as well. What I normally do is I'll actually go over here to Supercoach profile. And this will give him give us all his information about Supercoach. So we can see that he started round 1 at 615, had a couple of poor scores, had some more poor scores, and has actually dropped down to 508k. So if you're looking at picking him up, he's getting close. If we scroll down a bit further, we can see that, hey, he's got a break even of 104, and because of his previous scores here, the system's worked out that he's only got a 24% chance that he's going to actually match that. Now, 105 is not much, but he's been performing pretty poorly, so that's just what it's saying. He could drop by 4% in price, which isn't much, and as it says here, $4,000 isn't much. So next week you could get him at 502, and then he's likely to jump up after that. So yeah, if you scroll down, it's got his 3-round average and his price per average as well, and then his consistency. So yeah, some useful information there. If we scroll over to the side, we can actually see how his score this week ranks up to previous years. So for a fallen premium, for example, like a Josh Kelly, we can use that as an example of, hey, this year he's only averaging 96, but in previous years, he's been over 100 every year until 2017. So that's some good signs there. But if we have another look, there's actually some worrying signs, because Josh Kelly likes to get injured. And last year he only played 14 games, the year before 14, the year before 15 and 21. So the last time he played a full season was 2016. And if we don't want to burn trades, then you have to factor that in to your scoring. What we can also do is come over here to games, and that's got his possessions and his marks and his goals on each game, what he scored in Supercoach, similar to the career stats before, what he scored, and we can actually compare his scoring and what he's getting stats-wise with another player. So, let's say Josh Kelly versus a Dustin Martin, as an example. Who do you think's a better player? Alright, let's go. So, you've got their positions, where they were ranking-wise, and for this season, Dusty's only played 6 games, and then so on and so on. So it's something good to play around with if you want. It's got their Supercoach score, their Supercoach price as well. So, I hope you guys found that really interesting and informative. If you have any questions, post it down in the comments. Thanks. Bye. Hey guys, just wanted to quickly talk to you about FanFooty. Now, FanFooty is a website I usually have alongside my KO when I've got it turned on, and we use it for live scores. That's right guys, live scores and stats. So, if we have a quick look up the top, we're looking at the Richmond vs Bulldogs game. As the game goes on, as the score starts updating, obviously the scores will update at the top, and the players' stats and the players' scores in Supercoach will start to update. So I can't show you a live game at the moment, but this is kind of what you're going to be looking at. If we go back to the main page, it has every team's game, so you can look at Monday, Tuesday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as the case would be. We can see how many goals a player has scored, what their Supercoach score is, how many kicks, how many handballs, how many marks. We can sort them by their Supercoach rating, like we do at the top. We can see how many contested possessions and how many clearances a player has. A big one's their meters gained, which we can see over here. And we can see their clangers, their efficiency with disposal, and their time on ground as well. So, Nathan Broad did really well, 98% time on ground. Wow, Tom Lynch, 100% time on ground. It's a shame about his disposal efficiency. And you've got some comments over here, but we don't care about them too much. What we can do is we have a look over here. So each Supercoach game is a maximum of 3,300 points. So if that many points haven't been allocated in a game, that's when scaling happens. So let's say both teams scored 1,500 points, there would be 300 points left over, and that's when scaling happens, just as an example. Down here, we've got a bit of a live update as well, so someone will come on here and post, hey, this guy's just done this guy's just done that, and it's got a live feed as well from the AFL. Well, that's Supercoach Resources Part 1 done and dusted. Let me know down in the comments what you guys use, and if you found my video helpful. Like, share, and subscribe, guys, for extra content. Have a nice day. Bye.